Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Daily Apple Clinic podcast, The Truth About Health. My name is Paul Reynolds. My wife and I have an independent primary care practice in Denver, Colorado. We are nurse practitioners, having worked in a variety of healthcare settings over the past 20 years, and we have a deep desire to make healthcare better. Our goal here is to ask difficult questions and challenge the conventional thinking that currently exists in the healthcare space. And we especially hope to help all of our listeners think about their health and live better. We try to have fun too. Please check out the show notes below to find useful links and information about our guests. You can find us on the main social media channels, and you can always check us out at www.dailyappledpc.com or give us a call anytime. Here's what's in store on today's podcast. Sure. Yeah. You're not opposed to medication, I'm guessing, if you think it might work for someone. Am I missing that? I don't want people to think something about you that's not true.
No, not at all. I spend all my
Yeah.
time in the hospital prescribing medications. I just believe
Okay.
that it should be a last resort, and we have
Okay.
completely shifted our paradigm. I
Mm.
can't speak for what things were like in the United States, but I can say in the UK when I was growing up, a couple of
Mm.
decades, 2, 3 decades ago, if I went to the doctor, doctors were much more common sense about giving lifestyle advice, and a
Mm.
pill or an injection was an absolute last resort. And that
Mm.
paradigm has drastically shifted. Now, sadly, most
Just.
doctors are complete pill pushers. They're almost typing the
Mm.
prescription as a patient walks in the room. And we need to shake that out of doctors that
Right.
you need to jump to a pill or an injection and that's
Mm.
what's expected of you. It's not what's expected of you at all. Yes, there's some medications out there which are good and will help people, but we need
Mm.
to shift our focus on thinking of them as a last resort.
Right. We tell our patients the same thing. I often tell them, my job is to get rid of you. My job is
Yeah,
to get you so
that's
healthy and you figure out how to do it so you never come
yeah,
back. And that absolutely is something that we all understand. We have light bills to pay and rent to pay. And so in the back of your mind, you wonder how much that influences decisions in the clinic, either because you own the clinic or because you're being pressured by someone to get more patients through. You need to produce, you need to make sure that you're seeing 20, 25, 30 patients a day and you're billing appropriately. It it
yeah. True.
it's a sad state, I think, that
And
we're
I'll give
in.
you another
Mm.
example of this mentality in action. Type 2
Mhm.
diabetes, which 99% of the time is a lifestyle disease, and it is one
Right?
of the diseases which is exploding
Mm.
right now in adults and children.
Mm.
So 100 years ago, indeed, throughout most of human history, it was so rare to have type 2 diabetes because being overweight or obese was rare. If you went to a
Mm.
doctor 100 years ago and said, or they diagnosed you with diabetes, they would look you in the eye and they would say, "You better change your lifestyle. You need to lose weight. This is crazy. And if you don't, you're going to die because we don't have any medicines for you." And that person would have to then go and lose weight.
Mm.
Now we have all of these medications, which are kind of a band aid. They're not really
Mm.
solving the problem. People still get sick
Right.
because we're not touching the issue from the other end. And that is
Right.
how the medical paradigm shifting can be very dangerous because doctors
Mm.
100 years ago would be very blunt with people and they would be forced to take action
Mm.
from the right end.
Mm.
But nowadays it's, oh, it's fine. We'll give you a pill. And then you can keep
Mm.
pummeling your body with sugar and carbs and we'll give another pill. Then we'll give you
Mm.
insulin. When you've already got too much insulin in your body, you're hyperinsulinemic, we'll give you more insulin.
Mm.
It's a ludicrous situation. It's
Right.
clownish.
You're just
And my
right.
entire profession has jumped on
Mm.
board with this without even taking a step back and thinking, what are we doing here? You can't treat a lifestyle disease with pills and with pills and injections. It doesn't work.
Yeah, not only doesn't work, but are you truly causing harm in the process? Are
Yeah.
you violating your basic principles? And I don't know how you can keep shoving more insulin in there and destroying your body's ability to realize that it needs to do something different when you're just supplementing and creating an
Well, have you
exogenous
seen what
effect
they give
that
type 2 diabetics in the hospital? Go anywhere in the United
mm,
States and look at what they're giving type 2
looks
diabetics to eat. I mean, the whole system is clueless. You're giving someone with
right,
carbohydrate intolerance tons of carbs and sodas every day. What do you think is
right,
going to happen? And it's because we have this paradigm that, oh, it's okay, you can
right,
pour poison basically into yourself, poison for you,
mm,
and
mm,
we'll just fix it from the other end. It doesn't work like that.
right,
It doesn't. Your body
right.
can't be fooled.
Yeah. So, if we were going to help some younger people, and I say younger, but it could be anybody. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking headed off at the pass, kind of a comment. If we could help folks when they're better able to be helped, maybe what's one habit every 20 something should adopt today?
The number one habit by far is making the majority of what you eat real food, because currently in the United
Mm,
States, over 70% of all calorie intake is
mm,
processed food. That is by far the number one change you can make, which will have a massive difference on your
mm.
physical and mental health and levels of
Okay.
inflammation. That would be number one.
Okay.
Number two, move as
Mm,
much as you can. Social
mhm,
media now makes way too many people sedentary. Get your 10,000 steps in. Ideally, go to the gym every day.
mm,
1 hour on exercise, which some people for some reason find impossible, even though the statistics are people are spending 8 hours a day on social media and TV. One
right.
hour a day, that 4% of your day on exercise will reap you enormous benefits for the other
Mm,
23 hours. So
mm,
eat real food, move and exercise as much as you can would be the top two things. And then really think about stress in your life. That's the other
mm,
wellness pillar. If social
mm,
media is making you anxious, then you have to step away from social media,
mm,
put the phone down, get outside, go have a walk in nature, engage in a hobby, meet new people. We have a crisis of spiritual wellness, which is directly
mm,
linked to increased rates of stress and anxiety. Work on
mm,
that as well. Sleep, optimize that. Now, I'm talking about this like it's easy to implement. Of course, it's not. All anybody can do is just try to slowly move the needle in the right direction, tick as many boxes as possible. Maybe you go from 70% of your calorie intake being from processed food to 50%, which is still
mm,
bad, but
mm,
you're moving the needle in the right direction. And people have
mm,
to understand the compounding effects. This is what I teach, the
mm,
compounding effects of good
mhm,
habits. We talk about compounding in economics and finance a lot, but it's actually
mm,
bigger effect in health. Keep doing
mm,
those good things. And you will notice in 6 months, you are a whole new person. You've lost weight, you're sharper mentally. Just keep on trying to do better things.
mm. Yeah, we say the very same thing, but we talk about, say, the 4 pillars. That's mostly what we start with in terms of demonstrable effect we can have in our
Sure.
lives. Just the diet, the sleep, the stress, and the activity levels. And so we say, just change. Let's start with one thing, just
Yeah.
one pillar, and let's make one change. This week, I want you to go out and try one vegetable. Just pick one, and then we
I
say,
love
okay,
that.
let's talk about another one next week, and then
Yeah.
one little thing. So so is that the biggest myth about, say, fitness, that young people are that they need to ignore, that they can't do it, that it has to be an all or none? What is it that keeps them from doing better?
It's a really good question. I would say a couple of things. Yes, there is a myth there that you need to be perfect when
Mm,
it's not necessary to be completely perfect. You can do small good things. I also think that there has been an unseen effect over the last 10 years when we've seen everything go off the charts. I mean, 10 years ago, things were nowhere near as bad. I know we both live in low obesity states. To me, even the
mm,
state I live in has like fallen off the deep end. But
mm,
there is another aspect here that I would urge everybody watching to focus on, and that is be around the right influences. As
mm,
human beings, we naturally start doing what the people around us are doing. And
mm,
there's been a lot of research, and I think there's going to be a lot more research on how if you have a group of friends that is out of shape, that never
mm,
goes to the gym, that eats really badly, you start doing the same thing. And conversely, when you're in a group that is really healthy, you start
mm,
mimicking their behaviors. So please, please try. If you have the wrong influences around you, you're never going to be healthy. You're going to keep
mm,
being dragged in the wrong direction.
mm. Yeah, and that's the fifth pillar out there. I guess most people would call that community or relationships, that kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think it was the Framingham study, just relationships is that's what's gonna help you live that long, happy life. And then the sixth pillar is don't do dumb things, don't do bad things, don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, certainly to excess. Don't do dangerous things. Um, so yeah, again, it's just that lifestyle piece. Uh, so so you focus on whole foods, natural foods, non-processed foods. Is there do you have like a food pyramid, if you will, or something like that you recommend to people, a particular diet, Mediterranean, something like that? How do you put it into a package and make it easier for people to digest it? Pardon the pun.
Good pun. So I'm not one for like a very rigid approach. As we see in the world, there are countries with very different diets that have good outcomes. Like the Japanese diet is very different from the Mediterranean diet. I would
Mm,
say focusing on core pillars. So number one pillar, as we've already said, minimize ultra processed foods and
mm,
sugars. Number two is prioritize protein. Really
mm,
prioritize it rather than say
mm,
have a cereal, sugary cereal, or toast for breakfast. Eat eggs or whatever else you like that contains protein, a Greek yogurt. Because the more
mm,
protein you eat, not only will the stronger you be, everybody knows protein makes you strong, but it also
mm,
fills you up more and it's lower calories per unit than carbs as well. So
mm,
prioritize protein, maximize antioxidants. There are
mm,
many foods out there which contain antioxidants which work against all the free radicals that cause damage in your body.
mm,
Blueberries would be my favorite, fresh
mhm,
organic blueberries. Anything colorful vegetables
mhm,
will be high in antioxidants. Natural vitamin antioxidants are A, C, and E. You can't
mm,
go wrong with a meal which is a protein and two vegetables at the side. Be very
mm,
mindful of carbohydrates. I'm not saying you need to go keto and cut it out completely, although people who
mm,
go keto have very positive health benefits that they report, but for most people it would not be realistic.
mm,
I would say those would be the main dietary pillars. There's not necessarily a pyramid, but there's broad principles that
mm,
you can adhere to. And of course, stay hydrated. Be very careful with drinks.
mm,
Don't drink your calories in soda. Don't pile sugar in your coffee, cream, etc.
definitely.
That's the other
Right.
part of this. People forget what they
Okay.
drink.
And you don't really prioritize plant protein versus animal protein, anything like that?
I mean, anything can work. I'm vegetarian myself. I've been vegetarian
Mm,
for a long time.
mm,
But a lot of people I work with are not vegetarian. I don't think
mm,
there's anything inherently wrong in meat. Um,
mm,
However, be mindful that nowadays a lot of meat is coming from terrible farming practices, and the
mm,
animals are not being treated well. They've been injected with
mm.
hormones and other junk. So you're not getting meat as it was available to your ancestors.
When you How long have you always been vegetarian, and how did it change the way you felt? How do you function? Or
Most
personally, are you yeah.
being vegetarian. I wasn't brought up
Mm,
actually vegetarian. It was my own choice
mm,
to
mm,
become vegetarian. But I do think very hard about protein, and I'm not vegan,
mm,
so I eat a lot of eggs,
mm.
dairy, cheese,
Okay.
tofu, other sources of protein. So I make sure I get my protein. The general recommendation is at least a bare minimum 1 gram per kilogram of body weight per day.
Mm.
1 kilo is 2.2 pounds.
Right. Yeah, I remember in med school, the organic chem guy was like, "You've got to get those essential amino acids. You're going to get that through animal protein." And so, I think a lot of people, if they, do you feel like they should supplement with some kind of animal protein if they're if they're aiming for that vegan lifestyle or vegetarian?
Vegetarians can get protein from eggs and dairy.
Right, right.
The problem a lot of vegetarians have is that they eat a lot of carbs. That's why a lot of
Mm,
vegetarians end up diabetic. So you have to be careful.
mm,
Vegans, I've never been vegan myself. I
mm,
know a lot of vegan, or I've seen a lot of vegans, and some of them do
mm,
get health issues. You have to be very careful, and usually you have to supplement if you're a
mm,
vegan and are not getting any animal protein
mm.
whatsoever.
Okay. Slight digression. How about
Sure.
mental health? How does it tie into physical health, especially for younger folks?
Oh, the two are intrinsically linked. I mean, your brain is an organ, so if your
Mm,
body is inflamed and insulin resistant, that's going to be a problem for your brain too. There's
mm,
links as well with dementia. This is in older people, obviously. But if you want a healthy mind, yeah, you have to have a healthy body. I find some of
mm,
my best, most creative ideas happen when I'm at the gym or on the treadmill, when I'm getting blood flow to the brain. I think it's an absolute tragedy now. Young people are not
yeah,
moving enough. And I
mm,
do believe that a lot of their mental health issues could be sorted out with exercise. In fact, that's been proven in
mm,
studies. Many studies have shown that an exercise prescription is way better than an
mm,
antidepressant for improving mood.
mm. Now you also have created and you have some of your own supplements
Yeah.
that you sell. What are they for? How do they help people? Why do you feel they're important or necessary?
Yeah, I've taken natural supplements my whole life, and
Mm,
I decided that I wanted to personally formulate them because I have issues with some of the supplements on the market. I don't fully trust them,
mm,
so I wanted to do this myself and make it available to anyone else. So I always say, do your own research. But we're formulating actually more supplements coming out, but the main ones we have right now are an anti-inflammation, immune
mm,
support containing turmeric, ginger, black pepper, and then some less known in the USA Indian spices. All of them are research backed for being anti inflammatory and supporting the immune system. And
mm,
the thing about supplements is they should not be used as a cure for any disease. But I really strongly believe in their power because you're dealing with compounds which have been shown to have very powerful antioxidant. If we take turmeric, for instance, I mean, there's a ton of research out there, and it's not always possible for people to get enough turmeric in their food. So
mm,
when I'm not eating Indian food, I have supplemented for many years now. I take my own supplement. We also have a bone support supplement containing vitamin D and K2, and a memory and brain support supplement containing ashwagandha and ginkgo.
mm,
And all of
mm,
these compounds have been shown to have good effects, and we've got a very positive response so far. We also are local, manufactured in the USA, and we work with a veteran-owned company as well to produce them. So we wanted to make it
mm,
very mission-driven too, to bring
mm,
these good products to people.
mm. Ultra processed foods, do you think they're actually addictive where people start eating them and they can't get away from them?
Is the sky blue?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
sugar. Yeah.
The scientists who went over to big food or worked with big tobacco before, their whole goal
Mhm,
is to throw this fake food at you. I mean, there's nothing
mm,
in nature that tastes like a Dorito. It's all
right,
deliberately designed. I think this is what people need to wake up for, is that you're being
mm,
sold drugs just under a different name. And you can't stop eating them. They're really bad for you. And that's why we're seeing all the health problems that we're seeing. I think they should be
mm,
regulated more like any drug.
mm. Is there so your diet is more just natural foods, whole foods.
Yeah.
D Are there any I'll call them fad diets? Doesn't sound like keto's on your list, maybe intermittent fasting or just generally plant-based. Would you say there's any trend out there, anything people might find some value in?
I think a lot of the fad diets, as you refer them to, do have some benefits, and
Mm,
that's why they work for people. My
mm,
issue is that a lot of this is not sustainable for people. Yes, the
mm,
keto diet will work absolutely; it will reverse a lot of
mm,
conditions. The question is, can you sustain it for a long time?
right.
Intermittent fasting has huge benefits. I'm a fan of intermittent fasting. Frequently, I'll go
Mm,
I won't do a 24-hour fast, but I'll do a 16-hour fast. And
Okay.
and yeah, you've rested your body, you've rested your metabolism. Fasting has been used for a long time to help
Mm,
suppress some bad disease processes. Uh,
right.
whether you can do that all the time is the question.
Right. And wasn't it just a natural function of how we lived 1,000, 20,000 years ago? It's just how we evolved. We we
Yeah,
we
yeah.
went through cycles. We had food, we
You
didn't have food.
wandered the plains and you had no
Mm,
food. Very true.
mm, right. So are there any blind spots, any glaring issues in modern medicine that no one's really addressing that we haven't talked about so far?
Yeah, I think a huge blind spot is, and I touched
Mm,
on this earlier,
mm,
how the medical profession is actually a big impediment to improvement because
mm.
as a doctor, I can tell you, and I'm not saying there's not some really good doctors out there who are really trying, but I think
Oh, yeah.
the minds of a lot of doctors are completely broken. The way they think
Mm,
is all wrong. In England, we use the phrase their heads are not screwed on right. And we saw
mm,
this during the pandemic. And I actually think it's very dangerous to have people whose paradigm and worldview is broken or they're ideologically captured. That's a whole other story. But fundamentally,
right.
I think that people underestimate how propagandized doctors are, how they will
Mm,
literally follow whatever their authority tells them without putting an
mm,
ounce of critical thinking skills into it. That's a huge
mm,
blind spot. And I think that's going to be a bigger battle, one of the biggest, if we want to make America healthy. I don't think RFK, for instance, realizes how he's up against a medical profession
right.
where the majority of their minds are broken. They can't think in any other way. And it's
Mm,
terrifying when you actually see this. You probably experienced it from the inside. Like they're not
mm.
putting an ounce of their sense into it. They're following a protocol which is faulty in the first place.
Right, yeah, and you're talking about somewhere between 10 and 40 years of indoctrination, habit, practice, and just wanting to be conservative and protecting themselves and all the hard work they've put into their career and their role. Um, totally understand that. However, so what's RFK or anybody else that's in charge, how are they going to upend that? I
How
mean,
do
I would
you-
even argue that those people were selected based on their willingness, ability, even maybe to do what they were told to do. I mean, that's how they got there. They took the
Yeah,
test. They did what they were supposed to do. They were the great student. They were the person who just got in there and got the job done. Let's
yeah,
see, I think that guy would make a really great doc, and he's going to do exactly what I need him to do. And anybody who's experienced healthcare from that side, and they know what it's like to be living in a residency or having to do that scut work and just buck up and get it done 60, 70, 80 hours a week. That is all part of the indoctrination process and making sure this person is going to be on board. They've joined the team, they're part of the club, and they're going to follow the recommended process and procedure. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to the Daily Apple Clinic podcast, The Truth About Health. Please click the share link and make our content available to friends and family. And don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll get new episodes delivered directly to you as soon as we release them. As always, your comments are welcome. Please do your best to be kind and include ideas that will help everyone as they think about their health. You can always find us through our website, www.dailyappledpc.com. Give us a call anytime if we can answer questions or be of assistance. Here's a short clip to give you a taste of what's in store on next week's podcast.
yes. So your health is in your own hands. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Every single minute of the day, you are going to be making a choice. Simply make the right choice, and everything will compound, and you'll be much healthier, both physically and mentally, in 6 months than you are today.
Take good care and see you next week.